I'm very confident in the guys that we got. I think they've played really good, especially the interior guys, who there maybe were some question marks about with Royce and Lucas and John. They've been very consistent. Billy, I've talked about at length, his consistency at right tackle for us. Last year, I don't think Donald was 100%, and they didn't have Von Miller. Obviously, they added him to the mix, and a healthy Aaron Donald is, a menace to any offense he goes against. So we're going to have a good plan for the protection. And last year we ran the ball pretty well. If you remember in the playoff game, in first play, second half, Jonesy busted out a big one, and we kind of stuck with the run as much as we could. And that set up the last long touchdown pass to Allen to put us back up by 2 scores. So you got to run the ball against teams that want to play too high. And that's always going to be a part of what we're trying to do.
Fun, entertaining, knowledgeable.
All right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
Live and local. It's time for the Fan Morning Show with Bart Winkler.
Good morning, everybody. Final hour of the Bart Winkler Show this morning. No Bart Winkler. Instead, you're with Toby Altizer, myself here with Sam Schmitz. Unfortunately, Ryan Horvath isn't going to be able to join us this morning. I know he was looking forward to previewing the Packers game with us this morning, but some unforeseen circumstances came up, so Ryan's not going to be able to join us this morning. But what that means is more time for you on this Packers Friday as we preview the Packers versus the Rams on Sunday. Give us a call, 414-799-1250, 414-799-1250, or tweet us at 1250 AM The Fan with your thoughts ahead of this Packers big game against the Rams on Sunday. Packers come in the game 8-3, looking to try and get a win headed into their bye. Rams 7-3, looking to get a win coming out of their bye. We got a big game coming up this weekend. We're going to continue to preview that. Me, Sam Schmitz here, breaking it down for you. This Packers team, we've talked about it, and again, it can't be overstated how banged up this Packers team is. I know I sound like a broken record with it, but they're so incredibly injured. And I don't want that to be an excuse. I don't want people to think that that's an excuse. Some people, it's football, baby. If you get hurt, that's part of the game. That's true. Okay, we get that. We understand. The Packers are missing so many guys. You're missing left tackle David Bakhtiari, all-pro, top 2, not 2, and the left tackle. You're missing him. You've missed him all year. You're missing a left guard who's up there with the Zach Martins, Quentin Nelsons, in my opinion, as one of the best interior linemen in the league. And Elgton Jenkins. You're missing, in my opinion, the best cover corner in the league in Jair Alexander. You're missing a huge threat in the pass rush game in Zadarius Smith, a guy that is an all-pro. You're missing him. You're missing your starting center from week 1. Well, I know he's a rookie, but he's a big deal. You're missing a guy that was ranked in the top 20 players of 2020 in Aaron Jones. You're missing guys that were supposed to play major roles on this football team. And you know what the beautiful thing about the Packers is, though? They've got a good coach, and you still got Aaron Rodgers. You still got 12 behind center, and you feel like you got a chance when you do. They go out last week. They weren't able to beat the Vikings. And I think part of the thing that hurt so much about that game last week is it was the Vikings. I think if they lose that game, say you flip-flop, all right? Say they lose that game last week to the Rams and they're playing the Vikings this week. I think you're a little bit different. I think you're coming in pretty confident. Like, oh, okay, that's fine. They lost to a team that, and I think the Vikings are a good football team. They lost to a team that's okay, a good football team. No big deal. They weren't able to get it done. They've done well all season, finishing out games. They just didn't finish it this week. No big deal. But because it's the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota against a team that everyone hates, with the stupid horn, Paul Allen, Kirk Cousins, Mike Zimmer, Justin Jefferson, all these guys, you can't stand it. So it digs at you a little bit more. So I think that loss last week would be a little bit different if it's another team, not the Vikings. But you come into this week against the Rams, and the Rams are a really good team, but they're coming off 2 straight losses in prime time where they did not look very impressive at all. And I think that's the problem with this Rams team at times, is they can be very inconsistent. One thing I look for this Rams team to do, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how they integrate Odell Beckham Jr. into this offense. All right, so they lose Robert Woods. And we talked about the role Robert Woods has in this offense a little bit earlier. Robert Woods is a really good possession-style receiver, route runner that gets open when he's schemed open, right? When Sean McVay draws up the play and says, hey, you're running a 12-yard in, get open, and Jared Goff or whoever's your quarterback's going to hit you out of the break. I think Robert Woods is really good in that role. That's not Odell, okay? So for people to say Odell's just going to fill in and take Robert Woods' role, I don't think that's Odell. What I do think Odell is he's someone that can take the ball when he catches the ball at the line of scrimmage, he catches the ball 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, and make magic happen. I think what happened with the Browns is they like to do a play-action passing game because of that's Baker Mayfield's strength. You got Nick Chubb, you got Kareem Hunt. They like to run the ball, then run play action off of it. And I think they depended so much on Odell being an elite-type route runner and catching the ball down the field that they lost what Odell's really special at. If you look at the years when Odell had his best seasons, he's catching the ball and then he's getting 5 yards after the catch or more. He's more of a guy to catch it and then get going. He's not going to catch the ball 15 yards down the field and then get tackled. He's better to catch the ball at the line of scrimmage, 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, then get going, make some moves on the open field, then get his yards. That's where Odell's special. So I'm going to be interested to see where they get him integrated into this system. Because right now, they have the weapons still to be an elite offense. They got Van Jefferson as the deep threat. They got Cooper Kupp as the guy that can do a little bit of everything coming out of the slot. They got Odell who can add then. I think the one guy now that they're missing with Robert Woods being gone is that guy who can be that intermediate type outside receiver winning one-on-one and catching the ball in the middle of the field. I think they're missing that. Cooper Kupp generally comes out of the slot. Odell's not really that guy. But I think when you look at this Rams team, they still have the weapons to be a really good football team. And they're going to be going up against a banged-up Packers defense. You've got guys to cover one or two of those Rams receivers. You feel pretty confident covering some of these guys with the Packers corners. I really like Eric Stokes. I really do. I think he's going to be a player in this league for a long time. And the one thing that's good about Eric Stokes, he's got that make-up speed. He can get beat by Cooper Kupp if he's stuck on him in the slot, and Stafford makes a throw deep down the field. Eric Stokes has elite make-up speed that not many people in the NFL have. So I think he's good. His problem is he doesn't have the best ball skills, so you got to work on that. Kevin King, I know he's not a guy that Packers fans like. He's a decent corner, but I don't see this being a good matchup for Kevin King. He doesn't have a physical receiver to go up against that he can cover. A lot of these guys are speed guys that are going to beat you with finesse. I don't see Kevin King doing a good job against any of these guys in coverage. Rasul Douglas has been good, but I still don't trust him against a guy. I know Odell's not the guy that we all think he once was, all right? I get it. I know some people are saying, stop talking about Odell. He hasn't done anything in years. That's fine. But I still think he has the talent to be one of the best receivers. At least, I think he's still a number 2 receiver. I think he can still be a top 20 receiver in this league. And so this team is really talented passing the football. On top of that, they get a good tight end at Tyler Higbee. I think it'll be interesting to see how much the Rams commit to running the football. And I thought it was interesting how Ryan Wood brought that up. When you look at that Vikings team, part of the reason they were able to have success is not that the Packers couldn't cover Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. It's that they knew they had to stop Dalvin Cook too. So when Dalvin Cook, and he really didn't have a big game. They bottled him up. They did a good job with that. But it allowed Justin Jefferson to be open in the back end. And that's one thing I'd worry about. It seemed like at times that Justin Jefferson was running across a coverage and there was miscommunication, and instead now he's open 40 yards down the field. And Kirk Cousins was good in hitting that. I think Matt Stafford's going to be good in hitting that. And you know what? Those were wide open throws that just about anybody in the NFL can make. Matt Stafford's a special guy, and now he's coming off a couple not great performances, but I think he'll get back on track where even if there's just a small window, Matt Stafford can fit it in there. So I think they're going to have to do a better job on the back end against these receivers that the Rams have, because the Rams are going to come out firing. They're coming out of a bye week, coming off 2 really bad performances. They're going to come out firing. Mike in Cudahy gave us a call at 414-799-1250. He wants to talk about this Packers game. Mike, what's going on this morning?
Hey, good morning, guy.
Morning, Mike.
after watching this last game that we lost against the Vikings, considering all the penalties that we had, I mean, look, we got to go into the red zone and score 7 instead of walking away with 3. And even if at that, I mean, kicking extra points and field goals haven't been very consistent this year. So the keys for us to even win this game, we can't beat ourselves with penalties, number one. We're going up against a good team. We cannot spot any team, let alone the Rams, any points, whether it's 3, 7, 14 points. You can't. You're playing against yourself. So for the Packers to win, as banged up as they are, the things I can think of would be scoring 7 instead of walking away with 3. And if you do, make sure you make the 3-pointer and the extra points. But very minimal penalties. You can't beat yourself in the NFL. I don't care what team you're playing. So they got to play their style of ball. They can't do any fumbling. I mean, if our defense can get a couple turnovers, that would be really nice because we got to keep the Rams' offense off the field. So ball control, convert third down, and score in the red zone. Those are the keys for the game.
Mike, I want to ask you this. Which side of the ball are you a little more worried about? This Rams offense is really good. They're going up against this Packers defense that was one of the top units in the league and then struggled last week. And then you got this offense that's going up against a pretty stout unit of the Rams. Maybe not statistically, but they got a lot of guys. But they're really banged up on the offensive line. Which side for the Packers are you a little more worried about, the offense or the defense?
I would say they're the Rams offense. We have to keep them off the field. We just got to do our ball control and run the ball, like you say, just jam it down their throats, alternate backs, and just try to get through. I'd like to get through, even if we don't win. I'd like to get through this game without any more injuries. So when we hit the bye, we're at least halfway healthy going into the stretch. I think the next few games, I have the Packers splitting these next few games coming up, splitting them. And I think we will win the division, but not by much. Like you say, there's too many variables here to say, hey, look, the Packers are a shoo-in. I remember that 2010 team. Man, oh man, we were like the sixth. I think we were the sixth team to ever go through as a wild card team and win the Super Bowl. There were so many things going against the Packers on that magic carpet ride. If we can just heal up, though, I think we'd have a pretty good chance of going deep into the playoffs. And as far as the home field, I discount that because we lost the previous NFC Championship games. And a perfect scenario was last year. We had it at home. We still lost. So I would just say let's heal up. I don't really care too much about the 1 seed. I think we're going to go into the playoffs, but we need to go in healthy. So we need to rest some of these players and get these other ones healthy.
Well, thanks for the call, Mike, and thanks for listening to us today on the Bart Winkler Show, 1250 a.m. The Fan. You can give us a call like Mike did, 414-799-1250. 414-799-1250. We're talking about this Packers and Rams matchup. We want to get your thoughts on what the X factors are, what you think is the key to victory, whatever it is you want to talk about, your predictions. We want to get your thoughts on this Packers-Rams game. It's a big one for both teams, a big one for the Packers heading into this bye. If they can get wins while they're really banged up, then that just makes it even more impressive, and it'll be nice when they start getting some of these guys back. You think about, you get an Aaron Jones back to make this offense even more explosive. You get David Bakhtiari back so Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to worry about his blind side as much. I'm excited to see what this Packers team's able to do on Sunday because I don't know that there's a whole lot of NFL teams, one, that have the depth on their roster to be able to overcome all these injuries, which I think is a credit. And during the offseason, I wasn't Team Gutekunst, but he's done a good job of building a championship roster around the guys that he has. He's got a deep roster, and they've done a good job. Credit to the offensive line, their coach. They've done such a good job of whoever goes out there plays as good as they possibly can and does the job. Now, obviously, you miss the guys like a Bakhtiari and a Jenkins, but the guys that have been plugged in, Nijman, Lucas Patrick, Royce Newman, all these guys, they've done a good job. So you're happy with that. But there's not many teams in the NFL that are coached as well as the Packers are to go out there after losing guys week after week after week and continue to go out there and play top-notch, high-level football that is Super Bowl caliber, really. I mean, even when you're missing everybody, the Packers are finding a way to keep themselves in games. I think the Chiefs have kind of gotten back on track, and they were struggling when the Packers played them, but they go in there, they're missing their starting quarterback. They're missing an all-world quarterback who still might be the most talented quarterback in the league in Aaron Rodgers, and they still find a way to make that a game. They go against the Seattle Seahawks after Aaron Rodgers has missed a couple weeks with COVID, and he hasn't been able to practice, and they couldn't seem to get on the same page, and they go in there, and A.J. Dillon goes in there and finishes the game out for them. Different guys step up, it seems like, every single week for the Packers, and they find a way. Last week, they were there. They had 31 points on the board, which should be enough to win you a football game. The defense finally had a game where, after a couple of good weeks where they've been really, really stout, had a week where you thought, okay, that's the Packers defense we know. That's the Packers defense where Aaron Rodgers goes out there and does his work, and he gives us a chance to win, but the defense just wasn't there. That's the Packers defense we know. And unfortunately, that's what happened last week, but I think they're still in that football game. And you know who kept them in that football game is Aaron Rodgers, because they were down early in that game. But it's just week after week, this Packers team is so well coached that it feels like no matter what happens with Aaron Rodgers, with Matt LaFleur, with Joe Barry's defense, I never thought I would say that. Never thought I'd say something good about Joe Barry's defense. And it's Joe Barry. I trusted all the guys on this Packers defense. I liked all the, I liked Eric Stokes. I liked Za'Darius. I like all these guys on their defense. Never thought I'd be complimenting a Joe Barry defense, but here I am. They've been playing well. But we'll see if they can get back on track this week against the Rams. Chris from Brookfield wants to talk about the game. What's going on, Chris?
What's going on, bud?
How's it going, man?
Yeah, I think if LaFleur comes out with a better game plan than he did against Minnesota, they got a good chance. Even though, you got the offensive line without Jenkins and Bakhtiari, but you haven't had Bakhtiari a year. You've had them fill in for a couple of games when Jenkins was out for a couple of games with his earlier injury in the year. So I'm not too worried about that. I know it's Sam Darnold and all that, but I think if LaFleur comes out with a game plan for what they drafted Dillon for pounding the rock, it's November, it's December, it's cold weather football. They ain't going to be 50 degrees in Lambeau. If they run the ball and use Aaron Rodgers the way they should and rolling out and play action, and if Aaron doesn't want to keep throwing the ball 60 yards down the field like he did in the first half against Minnesota, I think they got a doggone good chance. The Rams coming off of 2 losses. I don't care if they got OBJ or whatever his name is. He's been down the last 5 years. His career hasn't really been like a superstar wide receiver, so I'm not worried about Odell Beckham. But I think they can win the game. It's just a matter of what kind of offensive play calling is LaFleur going to do. He's an awesome coach, one of the best ones we've had. But you can't try to be too smart and coming out and throwing all the time. He's got to pound the ball. That's why he's got him. And if Jones can't play, they got what's his name, Taylor, number 27, the other running back.
Yeah, Patrick Taylor.
They've got, the kid first couple games he played in, he picked up 12 yards on a couple runs. It's like, give him the ball. You got to spread it. You can't just keep trying to throw deep bombs all the time like they did in the first half against Minnesota. And the Rams, their offensive line ain't all that hot. They've given up quite a bit all season long on sacks on their quarterbacks. I think we got a chance for some pickoffs. I think we're going to win the game. As long as we don't sit there and try to throw the ball 1,000 times and use the running game and the option pass, and I think we can do it.
Well, thanks for the call, Chris. And he brings up some good points there, talking about this Rams and Packers game. He's right. This Rams O-line isn't anything special, so maybe this Packers pass rush, even though it's kind of depleted, can get to him. Kenny Clark's been a monster. I don't know if you've been watching these games, just go watch Kenny Clark. That dude is a monster.
He's rushing at quarterbacks like he's a defensive end, and he's coming up the middle of the defense. It's insane. He never gets enough credit, and I just wish that we could devote a segment every week to Kenny Clark.
Yeah, there really aren't many like him. Aaron Donald, okay, he's the best. Chris Jones in Kansas City.
Yeah, I think it's like Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, Kenny Clark. Those are the elite of the elite.
I mean, there were times when, was it last week when I'm watching Kenny Clark off the snap just destroys the center. He's already back in Kirk Cousins' face when he's trying to hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook. He's already back there. It was just absurd watching Kenny Clark destroy people at times. But I thought Chris brought up some good points there. You need to run the football. You need to stop taking deep shots. And I don't think, you know what, Matt LaFleur I don't know is going to have time to take deep shots in this football game. I mean, this Packers O-line's banged up. This up front, this front for the Rams, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, those guys, they're good, okay? You're not going to have all day to throw. So they're going to have to find ways to get this quick passing game going. You know who I'd like to see get involved a little more in this offense with Aaron Jones, assuming he's not playing? Randall Cobb. I think Aaron Jones a lot of times is that security blanket that can get 5-10 yards for Aaron Rodgers when there's nothing down the field. Randall Cobb can be that. And I think he's going to need to play a bigger role because they're going to need to do something because he's right. You're not going to be able to throw the ball down the field, but nor does that need to be your game plan every time. They're going to sit back there. They saw what happened with MVS on that last touchdown. They're not going to let that happen. They're not going to sit back there and make a mistake of bringing their safety up and MVS is one-on-one with the safety. They're just going to sit back there and that two shell, that I feel like I've heard two shell way more than I've ever heard it in the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, in like the last 5 years even.
Yeah, I hear way too much. I get that's what they're playing, but still, okay. So the two shell, all right, that they're talking about, that's the two deep safeties. They don't want you to beat them over the top, all right. So MVS, he's going to kind of be neutralized with that, and I think they've got a good enough front for the Rams that they feel they don't have to pack the box to stop the run. Even with a guy like A.J. Dillon, who can run through a lot of arm tackles, can run through a lot of tackles that are weak, they're going to have to find a way to get some quick passes, whether it's Devontae running slants, whether it's whatever it is. I don't even know. Whether it's Lazard or they're going to have to find a way. And I don't like that all the swing passes as extensions of the run game and all that stuff. Run the football, all right? Run it. I get it, but you got to run it.
See, I'm the opposite. I think that, I want to run the ball, obviously, but kind of like against Minnesota, this Rams front seven it's going to be a test, and I don't think it's going to be as easy as we all would like it to be. So I think if you're not going to be able to run it efficiently, you got to have those little swing passes or passes out to the running back in the flat. I think that's going to be your most efficient way of keeping the ball going against this Rams defense.
Yeah, and I think that'll be a big part of it. I think they're going to have to swing the ball out, but I still want to see them just hand the ball off. Let's go, run the ball, and the other thing, A.J. Dillon. Don't run draw plays with him out of the shotgun. That dude needs to be running out of a single back or I formation. Give him a head of steam going. I didn't like they ran a draw play with him last week where he's standing still and then he gets the ball. He's a bowling ball. He's not somebody that has the burst like an Aaron Jones where you can hand him the ball and he can be at the line of scrimmage in a second. No, you need to get him going. Let him get his head of steam, hand him the ball, then go. And I think one thing, if they can commit to the run, they can wear down this Rams team because, again, they're coming up to Lambeau Field. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. It's going to be classic late November, December type game for the Packers at Lambeau Field. The Rams don't want any part of that. They're playing at SoFi Stadium. They're used to playing on some turf. They're used to playing in warm weather. They're used to playing in perfect conditions. That's not the case when you come to Lambeau. The field's going to be cold. Everything's going to be cold. They don't want that. Run the ball with A.J. Dillon. Make them realize where they're at. Make them realize that they don't want any part of this. But I think that's a good point that you brought up there, Sam, with maybe they do need to swing the ball out a little bit, but I think you're going to have to see Matt LaFleur have one of his best coach games again. And I think we've said that a lot about this year, where we expect Matt LaFleur to have a expert game plan. We expect him to be able to come up with a way for them to win a football game and kind of scheme them to a win. And I think he has the capability of doing that. And I think he's going to need to do that this week. And the Rams are looking to bounce back from back-to-back losses. This is what Sean McVay had to say about that.
I think the bye came at a good time for us. You obviously didn't want to go into a bye off of a performance, but that we didn't play like we're capable of, but you do give the Niners credit. But our guys know, and I think, you asked the question a couple days ago, Kevin, this league, every single week, there's one of those things that, a lot of times where different things are occurring. And so you got to be resilient. You got to be mentally tough, and we got to be where our feet are planted. And hey, let's just see if we can get better today, do everything in our power to compete to the best of our ability, and let the chips fall where they may. And that's the mindset that we have. And I think you have to have mentally tough people. You can't let, what happened previously affect your ability to move forward. Otherwise, this league will eat you up. And that's the type of guys that we have. And that's why you love coming to work with them. And we're excited about the next opportunity that we do have.
Well, and that's coming off a Monday night game. He's talking about the game against the 49ers. Rams head coach there, Sean McVay. They're coming off a game where they lose 31-10. Not impressive at all. Weren't able to do a whole lot. Cooper Kupp still had a good game, 11 receptions for 122 yards. Matt Stafford was okay with 26 of 41, one touchdown, 243 yards. The main thing there, 2 picks that weren't very good. The Niners were able to run the ball, really, against the Rams, and that was the difference. The Niners ran for 156 yards on the ground, and Deebo Samuel getting involved and really dynamic. That was the most dominant game I think I'd seen the Niners play. So I think it was a combination of the Rams playing pretty bad and then the Niners playing some of their best football. But that's also the Rams coming off a week before where they lost to the Tennessee Titans and weren't very impressive. They lose 28-16 in a week where Ryan Tannehill only threw for 143 yards and they still win that football game. You get Stafford throwing for 294 and again, 2 picks. So maybe the Packers can be opportunistic on this defensive side of the ball this week and get some interceptions, get some plays. Because last week, you know what the difference in the game was? We can talk about it. Last week, the difference in the game was the Packers had chances to make plays on the defensive side of the ball, and they didn't make them. Whether it was a Savage drop pick, whether it was a Savage pick that was overturned because of a roughing the passer, there were so many opportunities they had to pick off Kirk Cousins, and they didn't make those plays. If they can make those plays this week, I think they can win this game. I know the Rams are better than the Vikings, but I think that if they're able to make the plays defensively, they're able to get some turnovers from Matt Stafford, they can win this football game because I think they are going to commit to running the ball, making this a little bit of a lower scoring affair, and who knows? I thought last week maybe they do the same thing, and last week there were 65 points combined, so who knows? But let's get out to the phones here, 414-799-1250, 414-799-1250. Notebook Mike's on the phone. Notebook Mike, what's going on?
Hey, guys. I just got, 3 comments.
Sure.
Mountain climbers, people who live in Alaska, skiers, cut that digit off. You'll never miss it. Ronnie Law cut his finger off, and he went back in the game. Do you remember that?
I've heard about it.
It's kind of before your time, I guess, is the playoff game. Here's what keeps me up at night. If the Packers need a field goal to win, that's not good. Because you're going to trot Crosby out there and he misses, the game's over. Correct?
Yeah, that is a real concern right now.
That's a big worry. But I can't wait to watch, any given Sunday, and you never know. Okay, guys, have a good one.
Thanks, Mike. Mike was pretty short on the line today. Usually he has a whole list of things he wants to talk about. Usually hangs on with Bart for seems like an hour.
Like in the notes for Notebook Mike. It's interesting. But I think he's changed up his style. I think he's more going ad-lib, which I like. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, we're missing the notebook, but that's all right. Yeah, he brings up a good point, though. Mason Crosby. What's your confidence level in Mason Crosby if this game comes down to a field goal? Heck, if it even comes down to an extra point at the end of the game to tie it up. What's your confidence level in Mason Crosby?
Ever since you guys brought it up on your show, I think Bart was joking about it, but now it's all I can think about is when Rodgers threw that terrible interception against the Seahawks, and someone brought it up to him on Twitter, and he was joking about it that, Rodgers was actually just helping out Mason Crosby so they didn't have to attempt another field goal. Now that's all I can think of when they're in these, 4th and short situations, especially on opponent's territory. It's kind of paranoia now, but if it's if it's a shorter field goal, I guess I feel somewhat confident, but yeah, if it comes down to that, you failed the game pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know how you have a whole lot of confidence right now in Mason Crosby. He hasn't shown you that he can be a reliable kicker right now. And I don't know about you, Sam. This frustrates me. Stop blaming the operation. Stop blaming the long snapper. Stop blaming the holder. I get that some of it was messed up.
We can't say that it's not.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's 0% blame, but at the end of the day, the kicker's got to make the kick.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we all know a couple weeks ago the laces out thing that actually does affect the.
How much does it affect a football kicking it?
You can watch a whole video. I'm not going to explain it right now, but other than that, there are some kicks even after that. That operation was fine, snap was good, hold was good, and Mason Crosby's still missing it. So yeah, I mean, they got to work on it. It's always weird when you bring in a new long snapper, especially like halfway through the season. That's just changing the whole operation too. But yeah, it's not been great.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that game yesterday, the Raiders and the Cowboys, and there's a situation where the Raiders got the ball, and there's a couple minutes left or under a minute left. I don't remember the exact situation, but they trot out Daniel Carlson for a 56-yarder. There's no way the Packers have any confidence in trotting Mason Crosby out for a 56-yarder. But if we're being honest, maybe Mason Crosby's better at the 50, 40, and 50-yarders than he is the 30-yarders.
That's what I was just going to say is because, of course, last week they make the 51, 54-yarder, but then they miss the chip shots. And, of course, we all go back to the game against the San Francisco 49ers this year where he makes the game-winning 51-yard field goal. It's like, okay, maybe it is just the deeper ones. I don't know. But, yeah, definitely not feeling easy about any of them.
Yeah, you don't have a whole lot of confidence in Mason Crosby. It's not a good place to be when you don't have confidence in your kicker. But it is what it is. Hopefully he's able to get it figured out. I wonder how long that leash is for Mason Crosby now. If he has a game where he misses field goals, 2 field goals, maybe he makes 1, but 1 for 3 on the day. He misses an extra point, misses a field goal, he misses. How long is that leash for Mason Crosby now? Because it's got to be getting pretty short.
One thing that I brought up to Rami, too, is that, of course, if he keeps on missing it, it's going to be very hard not to, turn it over to the practice squad kicker. But at the same time, you got to think about it, too. This is the only guy left on that Packers Super Bowl roster. And we saw what the Packers did to get Randall Cobb back to the Green Bay Packers to please Aaron Rodgers. Do you really want to let go of the one guy that's left on that Super Bowl roster and rock the boat with Aaron Rodgers' relationship in the front office? I don't know. It's just something to think about when you put in that equation.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, you really don't want to upset Aaron Rodgers, but at the same point, I'd rather upset. I know this sounds kind of dumb, but I'd rather upset Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl because my kicker is reliable. And if that's if it comes down to it, and it's I upset Aaron Rodgers and drop Mason Crosby, but it comes down to it in the NFC Championship, the NFC playoffs, that I need a field goal and I trust the guy kicking the field goal more than Mason Crosby, then I'm sorry, Aaron. You're going to have to get over it.
And, I mean, we can all hope that this practice squad kicker can be automatic and all that, but once again, that's another box of mysteries that you're going to open up too. Can this guy also be reliable, or is he going to be pretty much the same as Mason Crosby?
Yeah, and going into the kicker, carousel,
yeah.
It's not fun.
Kicker roulette, whatever you want to call it.
It's not fun. You don't want to be there, but the Packers, I think, are going to be there soon unless J.J. Molson's the guy. Mason Crosby, hopefully he figures it out. He's had rough stretches in his career where he figured it out afterwards. All right, we're going to take a couple-minute break here, but I want to remind you about the Scrub It Up Scrub Club. It's hard to say, but it's easy to use. Wash your car every day if you want. One low price starting at $13 a month. The Scrub It Up Scrub Club at any local Scrub It Up location. Sign up at scrubitup.biz. When we come back, we're going to be talking about this Packers-Rams game the rest of the way. We'll give our predictions for the Packers-Rams game, and we want to get your thoughts on this Packers-Rams game. What's the X factor? Give us your breakdown at 414-799-1250 or tweet us at 1250 AM. The Fan will be back in 2 minutes.
There's nothing specifically about certain things. Stats can be skewed to tell any type of story. I was reading, about our win-loss going into a bye over the last, 8 or 9 years or something. We have a really good record. Obviously, we've been really good at home over the years. So, you usually don't play a lot of back-to-backs on the road. Every now and then you do, but we've been good over the years at, not letting 1 week kind of trickle into the next. But they're a great opponent, and they're coming off a bye week. So, obviously, we've had some injuries and got some issues health-wise. But, we've been good at avoiding those back-to-back losses.
That's Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers talking about back-to-back losses. Really haven't had a whole lot of them. It seems like they bounce back very well every single year that they've been under Matt LaFleur, and now they're coming off a loss. They're going to look to bounce back tomorrow or Sunday against the Rams. It's going to be a tough matchup, but this game is going to be a very big one. It's going to impact playoff position. It's going to impact playoff seeding because both these teams are fighting for the 1 seed. I know right now that the Rams are sitting there at the top wild card spot at 7-3. They're second in the NFC West, but they're only one game back in the loss column to the Arizona Cardinals, who are on the bye this week. Packers head into the bye next week. Imagine if the Packers can win this football game. Go into the bye 9-3. Imagine Aaron Jones and Rashawn Gary both don't play on Sunday. Then they both come back after the bye. I want to look at some of these teams around the NFC. That's one thing I want to look at here as we finish up here on the Bart Winkler Show, heading into the Wendy's Big Show next with Rami Maklov, Gary Ellerson in. I want to look at these teams around the NFC. Right now, the Cardinals, 9-2. They're on their bye this week. Their final games, the Bears, Rams, Lions, Colts, Cowboys, Seahawks. They've got some tough teams in there. I think the Rams are going to be a really tough opponent, like they're going to be this week for the Packers. The Colts, they're playing really good football right now. And the Cowboys, they're obviously going to be tough with that offense that the Cowboys got. They're going to give everybody their best shot. I think the Seahawks, I know the Seahawks are terrible right now. I know the Packers just beat them 17-0. I don't know they don't look like themselves. But I think the further they go into the season, unless they decide to sit Russell Wilson down because he's just not cutting it, I think the Seahawks are going to get better as the season rolls on. So I could see them maybe having a couple tough ones, but they've got some easy wins mixed in there too. The Packers' remaining schedule. They got the Rams this Sunday, then they've got their bye. Then they've got the Bears, the Ravens on the road, the Browns, Vikings at home, and then the Lions on the road. Let's just say they're going to win the Lions and the Bears game, all right? That's 10 wins. Then they're going to have tough games against those other three. You just lost to the Vikings. The Browns are a tough opponent, and the Ravens. Ryan Wood said he thinks they can only lose one more game if they want to get the 1 seed, all right? Well, is that this Rams game on Sunday? Do they have to win out after that? How important is the 1 seed? We don't know. Buccaneers sitting as a 3 seed. They're sitting at 7-3 first in the NFC South. They've got the Colts on the road, the Falcons on the road, the Bills, the Saints, the Panthers, the Jets, and then the Panthers again. That's a pretty easy schedule for them. And then the Cowboys, look at them. They're 7-4. Saints, Washington, Giants, Washington, Cardinals, Eagles. They've got a pretty tough slate. This Rams team, it looks like they've got some easy wins on their schedule as well. They got the Packers. They got the Jaguars. That should be an easy win. Cardinals, Seahawks, Vikings, Ravens, 49ers. I think you look at all these teams. They've got some easy wins on their schedules, but they're all going to be jockeying for position here at the end of the season. I'm excited to see where this NFC race goes because these top 5 teams are all so good. And while the number 1 seed I don't think is as important as it has been in previous years, I think it's still a big deal. And these teams are going to be fighting it out. And ultimately what's going to happen is these teams are going to match up in the divisional round, in the conference championship. These are going to be fun games to watch. I don't know that if any of these teams beats each other, like if the Cowboys beat the Cardinals, that's not an upset. If the Rams beat the Packers or the Rams beat the Buccaneers, it's not an upset. If the Packers beat the Buccaneers, it's not an upset. I don't think if any of these top 5 teams beat each other, it's really an upset. I think all these teams are really good. And so you go into this matchup this week, and it could impact playoff position. The Packers are 9-3 going into their bye week. And the Cardinals come off their bye week. They'll probably beat the Bears. They'll be 10-2 and 9-3 going back and forth at it. The Buccaneers got a tough matchup this week with the Colts. The Colts are playing really good football. It's going to be really interesting to watch these things match up. Sam, I want to get your thoughts on this Rams and Packers games. I've kind of given what I think are some of the keys. I think they're going to have to be able to run the ball, play some good defense. What do you think are the keys if the Packers want to win this football game?
So one of them we already touched on. I think we kind of disagree on how the run game is going to be utilized because I I'm just not very optimistic, in all honesty, about this newly constructed offensive line. Josh Nijman has been playing great, filling in, but all of them together combined against Aaron Donald, Von Miller, and then Leonard Floyd, if he's good to go, I think they can have spurts of success, but I'm not seeing a whole game where they can thrive in the run game. So I think you got to use A.J. Dillon in the flats any way possible that you can get him in the pass game, just to take pressure off that offensive line and give Aaron Rodgers a little bit more time so he doesn't have to deal walking around with his toe and all that. So that's one of them. Another big one, obviously, trying to contain Cooper Kupp. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. We talked to Ryan Wood about it. I think it's going to be a combination of Stokes and Rasul Douglas and all that, but it'll be interesting to see if they go more man or if they go zone coverage and all that. I think Odell Beckham and Tyler Higbee and all them and Van Jefferson, I don't think Odell is going to necessarily, flash everybody and, kind of take everybody's breath away and all that. I think he'll have just a, measly stat line of, let's say, like 4 catches, 84 yards or something like that. Nothing too groundbreaking, but enough to make the offense efficient for LA. So I don't know. The way I see this, do we want to give our predictions now or are we doing that a little later?
We can go ahead and do our predictions. Let's give it.
I said on the Rami show a couple days ago, I think this is a closer game. I think both teams struggle to start the game. Unfortunately, I think the slow start for the Packers continues. I just don't know how I just don't see how it turns around all of a sudden when you got even more injuries for this Packers offense. So I think they struggle. I think LA does a little sluggish out off the bye as well. I have this more so as a lower scoring game. I have the Rams actually winning. I got it 20-17, and that's mainly just because of the decimated offensive line. Like we said, we've given enough credit to Josh Nijman already on the show, but when you have Von Miller, Aaron Donald, and Leonard Floyd, along with the rest of their defense, I just don't see how they can get it done, in all things considered.
Well, I was considering going with 20-17 as a prediction. Now that you went with it, I'll still stick with a lower score here. I think the Packers are going to commit to the running game. I think they're going to be able to run the ball a little bit. I don't know that it's going to... You're right. I don't know that they're going to start fast. I think it's going to be another slow start. I think this Packers team is going to have to commit to the run, even though at the beginning of the game, they're just getting 1-yard gains, 1-yard loss, nothing, 2-yard gain. They're going to have to stick with the running game. And I think if they give the ball to A.J. Dillon late in the game, they'll be able to kind of break one late and they'll get going. Give me the Packers winning this one 24-20. It's going to be a lower scoring game. I think the Packers defense gets back on track, but I think it's going to be a fun one to watch.
I think that's probably the biggest key, is just to make sure that you can get off on a hot start and you're not, going 3 and out in your first couple drives and all that. I think that's the biggest thing for the Packers against this defense.
Yeah, you got to find a rhythm somehow, whether it's quick short passes out to the running back, like you said, were good things, whether it's running the ball with A.J. Dillon, whether it's finding Devontae Adams early and often, whatever it is. They need to find a way to get the offense going somehow. I don't know that you want to... One guy earlier mentioned maybe rolling some pockets and different things. I don't know that that's the way to do it with Rodgers and this toe injury. I want to kind of keep him in the pocket as much as possible, and if possible, not use him with his legs. I think he's going to have to use his legs because,
unfortunately,
this defensive line is going to get to him.
No, but like you said, I mean, the fact that he was able to make that throw on the run to DeGuara last week just amazed me. Like you said, if you didn't tell me that he had a toe injury, I never would have guessed. But I don't want to have to rely on that stuff to happen. And I'm not too worried about Devontae Adams, too, against Jalen Ramsey, all things considered, because Jalen's probably going to get a couple plays, but Devontae is just so good off the line at creating separation that I'm not too worried about it. And I think we saw it last year in the playoffs, is that you got to continue to use as much motion as possible, especially with Devontae, and that gave Jalen Ramsey a lot of trouble. So maybe LaFleur goes back to that, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what they do with this game plan. I think they are going to have to run it. I think they are going to have to... But you can't just run, and then not be able to pass the football. They're going to have to find ways, and I think they're going to have to try and get some shots over the top. Because if they're just going to try and run this ball the whole time, and then they're not going to take those shots down the field, which they're not going to have a whole lot of time for, then you know what's going to happen. They're going to start packing this box with all these players. And you know what happens against a packed box? You're not going to be able to run it. I don't care if you got A.J. Dillon. Maybe Derrick Henry's the only guy that you can run it against a packed box. Jonathan Taylor, that you can run it against a packed box and say, all right, I still think we can have success. They don't have that right now in A.J. Dillon. And I know some people have confidence in Patrick Taylor doing stuff. I don't know that I have a whole lot of confidence in him. I want to see A.J. Dillon out there quite a bit. And I don't mind throwing him out there, even giving him some extra carries because of the fact that you have the bye week coming up. And you expect Aaron Jones to be back after the bye week. It's going to be interesting to see how the Packers decide to play with these injuries here, too. Does Rashawn Gary come back and play? Ryan Wood thought he was going to play last week, and he didn't suit up. But does he play this week? Does Aaron Jones play this week? You get the bye week. So do you give him an extra week of rest? And what do you do with these guys?
I think Rashawn's got like a 50-50 chance, but I don't think there's any way that Aaron Jones plays this week. I think they're doing what they did. We've known what the Packers, how they deal with injury. They're very conservative and all that. So I think they're just trying to get Aaron Jones back in shape and all that, make sure he's all right, and then they'll give him the bye week and all that. I just don't see any point in rushing him out there before the bye week and trying to risk even re-aggravating that injury.
Yeah, I agree. When you look at that, we thought he was done for the year. We thought he was done for the year. We thought Rashawn Gary was done for the year. So, I mean, just the fact that both of those guys could even be back this week is amazing. And so I don't know that if I'm the Packers, going off that assumption that we thought we lost these guys to now they could play 2 weeks after. No, just give them an extra week, give them the bye week. And the thing that worries me about this Packers team really is just these other injuries. You look at, we talked about it, Jair Alexander, Zadarius. Are those guys coming back? We don't know. We have like no update. Josh Myers, Matt LaFleur said he's expected back this season, but I mean, we expected David Bakhtiari back by now. I mean, it's just worrying with this Packers team because you look at the other teams and they have some injuries, sure, but Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins have missed some games for the Cardinals, but they're able to win 2 out of 3 with those guys being out. Now they're going to be coming back after the bye week, and those guys are going to be ready to go. It seems like these other teams have been getting healthier and ready to go, but the Packers just continue to lose guys, and the guys that they expected to come back, we don't know if they're coming back.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at the Arizona Cardinals and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay especially is going to get nothing but healthier. I think they're going to get I believe they're going to get Vita Vea back this week, and they'll start getting help from their secondary and all that. So that's just scary to think about once their defense gets back to normal, I guess you could say. And then the Arizona Cardinals, obviously Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins coming back will be huge. Chase Edmonds will be back eventually, but man, James Conner and the rest of their running game has been getting it done. So yeah, it's unfortunate for the Packers. You take out the Robert Woods injury for the Rams, all things considered, they're also getting healthier as well.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt. Like I said, if we start be able to get Carlton back, AB back, and not get Vita back, and hopefully Ali's not hurt too bad, and continue to get healthy rather than get hurt. Health is going to be the whole key going the whole way down the rest of the way.
Yeah, and that's Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians. He was talking about their injuries on Monday, but that just seems like you could play that for the Packers. I mean, yeah. Matt LaFleur could say that same thing. The healthier we get, the better we are, because I think if you were to put right now, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I'll say it now, I think if you were to take right now the top 2 teams that you think are the best when they're healthy, I think it's still the Buccaneers and the Packers. But this Packers team, as it's currently constructed with all the injuries and not knowing who's going to play or if they're going to play, I don't know if you can put the Packers in that right now. I think what it does is it brings these other teams back into it. The Buccaneers have lost some games that maybe they should have won, but that's fine. I think the Buccaneers are in a fine spot. It doesn't really matter. I'm not worried about what they do. Once they get into the playoffs, we'll worry about it because they got Tom Brady at the helm. I'm not worried about them. But these other teams, I thought it was Buccaneers and Packers, but if the Packers are going to be so banged up, it brings a team like the Rams, the Cardinals, the Cowboys right back into it.
We haven't even brought it up, too. I mean, the Packers, compared to those teams, they don't really have special team issues.
Yeah.
And that just might be, along with the injuries, that just might be, the deciding factor when it comes to these playoff games, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to little things in those games. And the Packers don't have a reliable special teams. They don't have a reliable kicker. Right now, they don't have half the roster, it seems like. So
12 covers up a lot of problems.
He definitely does. Aaron Rodgers is the one guy that you feel like, all right, we can lean back on Aaron Rodgers, and if it comes down to it and there needs to be a play made, they'll make the play. But you still just, this Packers team, you have a lot of confidence in them with Matt LaFleur, with Aaron Rodgers, but at some point, it just feels like these injuries are just going to be too much for them to overcome. But you know what? We say all that. Last week, they were right in it with the Vikings. And pretty much, they lost Jenkins. But they were without a lot of guys already going into last week. Vikings are a team that I think is going to be in the wild card spot, and they're going to be making a playoff run. So they played well against a team that was going to be in the playoffs last week, and they did okay. They put up 31 points. I don't know, though. It just seems like when you play against these upper echelon teams in the NFC, when it's the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, it's going to come down to how healthy are you and how well are you playing. Right now, neither team, the Rams are healthier coming in, but not playing that well. The Packers, I say, are playing decently well, but not very healthy.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing we've got to mention, too, is that Minnesota last week was fighting for their life, just trying to stay alive in the division, so that you never underestimate a wounded dog. And then also, I mean, you look at the Rams this week. I mean, I know Arizona's on a bye, but they're 2 games behind Arizona. If they lose this game to the Packers, I don't know if they have a really good shot at winning that NFC West, so they're also going to be fighting for their division life. One thing that, and finishing up here, live from the Lakeland University studios, online or in person, learn your way at lakeland.edu. Want to mention the toy drive as well as we finish up here. Donate to the toy drive today, the Fans' 15th annual toy drive benefiting Children's Wisconsin, courtesy of Blaine's Farm and Fleet. Simply go to 1250amthefan.com and click on the toy drive link to donate today. And it's the Fans' 15th annual toy drive presented by Annex Wealth Management through December 3rd. There might be some toy drop locations if you want to drop off toys as opposed to donating. We'll get those to you when we have those. But one thing, Sam, before we finish up here, we've been talking about the Buccaneers, talking about the Rams, talking about the Cowboys. Seems like no one ever gives the Cardinals the credit they deserve. Are the Cardinals a real threat in the NFC? I mean, I think they are, but it seems like no one talks about them like they are. So Tim and I were talking about this the day before Thanksgiving. We were actually ranking all these teams in the NFC, and I think I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 1, I had the Packers 2, and then I had the Cardinals 3. But the Cardinals were the toughest team for me to try to decide where to put them. It's really impressive to see what they've done with Colt McCoy these past 2 weeks. And we really haven't seen this Cardinals team fully healthy with Zach Ertz in this lineup, and then also a healthy DeAndre Hopkins as well. We saw him with the Packers, but he also got injured. So, man, the thing with me with the Arizona Cardinals is I have trust issues with them, especially after last year, because it wasn't as dramatic, but last year they got off to a hot start, and then same thing. Yeah, Kyler Murray unfortunately gets injured, and then after that everything went downhill. Now, thankfully, it looks like, although Kyler got injured, it looks like this won't be as nagging of an injury as it was last year. So their defense is really impressive too, despite losing J.J. Watt. Marcus Golden has been amazing for them. And we can never count out Chandler Jones and Isaiah Simmons. Yeah, it's just weird because we do talk about these other teams a lot, and obviously those teams, you talk about the Buccaneers, all right, we're talking about Tom Brady, we're being honest. We're talking about the Rams, okay, we're talking about an LA team. All right, you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, it's the Dallas Cowboys. But for whatever reason, this Arizona Cardinals team that is playing really good football sits atop the NFC, and we almost don't even deem them a threat. And yet, you go in there, the Packers go in there and beat the unbeaten Cardinals, but a short week, all those excuses that we were going to use if the Packers lost, the Cardinals can use too. It's just interesting. This NFC race is going to be really fun to watch down the stretch. I feel like the Super Bowl winner this year has got to come out of the NFC. I think so, because as we were talking about in the beginning of the show, every week it's somebody new in the AFC. And despite how good you feel about some of those teams, in the Bills, yeah, they're at the top along with the Patriots, but man, there's some ugly games right there. I think so too. Tampa Bay, I think it's you don't always count on teams to repeat, but man, with Tampa Bay, you got Tom Brady throwing to one of the greatest tight ends of all time, and then 3 number 1 wide receivers and Leonard Fournette as well. I don't know how you count them out. Who do you think is the top team in the AFC right now? I think it's the Patriots. Yeah, I think you got to go. They're playing the best football right now. Yeah. I think it's almost got to be them. Defense is just as good as Buffalo's, and then Mac Jones he's conservative and all that. They got a great running game and all that, so I'm not counting out the hoodie. I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, so we'll see what happens. It's been fun hanging out with you guys today. Toby Altizer here, wrapping up the Bart Winkler Show this morning. Next, we got the Wendy's Big Show with Rami Maklov and Gary Ellerson. So it's going to be a fun day here. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Signing off. Till next time, Monday, Bart Winkler Show next with Bart.
Love It or Leave It is an insanely funny, wildly popular, critically beloved, extremely handsome podcast hosted by former Obama speechwriter John Lovett on Crooked Media. Each week, Lovett, that's me, is joined by comedians, journalists, activists, elected officials, and more to break down the latest news with humor, analysis, and light optimism wherever applicable. New episodes drop every Saturday morning. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.